right. All right, welcome back again, Grand Rising, my fellow Eternals, fellow Elohim. We're back again this Sunday, June 1st, another brand new month. We are 6 months into 2025. And, we're back here again today, Sunday, on the One Great I Am Awakening to continue our evolution, continue our increase in our imagination. All right. I'm Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, and with me is my partner in mind and in spirit, Mr. Gregory Isaac Thomas, also known as Sir T. He is on the road as we speak, listening in. Probably will not be able to participate verbally, but will be adding his 2 cents as always, nonetheless. So today's lesson of discussion is titled, as aforementioned, By Your Works. Okay, by your works you show faith or demonstrate faith. Scripture says, faith without works is dead. Never really understood what that meant, but today we're going to get into the interpretation of that. What does it mean, faith without works is dead, or by your works you show faith? I have a plaque on my wall that says, prayer is the key to heaven, faith unlocks the door. What is that saying? Prayer is the key to heaven. But if you don't have the faith that the key will work, you're not going to unlock the door. So, it works hand in hand. Whatever you desire, whatever you are imagining, or whatever it is that you are imagining, never have a tape that says imagination plus faith. So not because you imagined it doesn't mean you have faith that you'll have it. A lot of times people imagine actually the way in which it will not happen, So if you imagine a way that something will not happen, that's what you have faith in, the not having it. You must always just say to that one side, never eat from the tree of good and evil or being double-minded. Eat from the tree of life, which is one directional. It only goes forward or upward, okay? Doesn't go right, left, and all these different directions. It's one directional. And so you must have to, that means you have to be steadfast, all right? So I see today we have Sister Charmaine. I like to say that. That was a DJ named Sister Charmaine. We have Sir Paul, we have Janice, Sandra, Mark, and Sir T, and myself. Should be having a few more join us in the interim. So today, going to play you guys a very short video slash lesson from the late great Reverend Ike. You guys were just listening to him for a few minutes on some of his Sunday lessons and whatnot. This is a very short one, like we did last week, but it's just to demonstrate where are we coming from with this particular lesson, that by your works you show faith. All right, and it has to do with this particular part in Scripture where this woman exercised her faith, okay, by acting by, actually moving towards what she desired to have. So she had to actually work to get to it. So it was just a demonstration in the Bible that showed you how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to act. All right. So I'm just going to play it, very short video, and then we're going to come back and have a very nice discussion about it. Give some examples of um, active faith, or what it is to have faith by your works. Why is it important to work, which is the only way you show faith. So let me pull up this video of Reverend Ike, and then we're going to come right back to talk of the things. Here we are, right here. What is this titled? Okay, so this video is titled, How to Answer Your Own Prayers. Keyword, how to answer your own. So it's not someone else who's going to do it. You're the one who has to do it for yourself, which is what he's going to demonstrate in this lesson. It's only 5 minutes plus. So let's take a listen, and we're going to come right back to discuss it.
Oh, I see you're turning on after I shocked you by telling you that prayer is neither heard nor answered by a God in the sky. I want to give you a new definition for prayer, some of you. Prayer is a positive mental transaction within your own mind. Prayer is a positive mental transaction within your own mind. And so as such, prayer is not even a religious exercise. Prayer is what you say to yourself within yourself. And to put it in the first person again, because I want you to be able to use this message. Prayer is what I say about myself within myself. And I want to go back to the text that we read a few moments ago concerning the episode of the woman with the issue of blood in the Gospels. In the Gospels, there is this lady who had an issue of blood for 12 years and who had tried all kinds of remedies and good physicians, but nothing helped her. And finally, Jesus came to town to conduct a meeting. She had heard about him, how many people had been blessed and helped and healed through the ministry of Jesus. And the words of the scripture which I just read tell us that she said within herself, if I may but touch his clothes, I shall be made whole. And I want to point out something to you good Bible people that perhaps you've never noticed before. Notice where this woman's prayer was said. Notice where this woman's prayer took place. This woman did not address her prayer to a God in the sky. But the scripture says what? She said within herself. If I may but touch his clothes, I shall be made whole. And so I want to suggest to you a new way of prayer. When you pray, you are really talking to yourself. You are talking to your own mind. You are convincing yourself of the good which you desire. And here again, you know, when you pray, you have no one to convince but yourself. So many people waste a lot of time with this so-called religious praying by trying to convince a God in the sky to do something for them or to give them something. But here again, and I have to hold the guideline on the scriptures because we're going into the Bible Belt. This woman's prayer took place within herself. She said within herself, if I may but touch his clothes, I shall be made whole. That was a mental transaction which she made within her own mind. To go into a bit of mind science and science of living for a moment, her conscious mind impressed the idea of healing, the idea of wholeness, the idea of restored health upon her subconscious mind. And this is the mental transaction. These are the mental mechanics which take place when you pray. The conscious mind conveys an idea to the subconscious mind. With her conscious mind, she selected the idea of wholeness, the idea of health, the idea of healing, and declared it and affirmed it. And the subconscious mind accepted that idea of healing and of wholeness. This is why here in these services, we're always affirming, even to the point of being redundant. I want you to know that I am purposely redundant in my messages and in my classes. Oh, of course, I studied theology, homiletics, and hermeneutics. But I found that people don't need that. People need something that they can use. People need the truth presented to them in such a way that it will set them free.
All right, and we're back as promised. A very short video of Reverend Ike discussing this particular woman who had an issue of blood. Again, when we discuss scripture here, we're not discussing history. We're not discussing something that literally happened. These never happened in real life. These are just mental, inner workings that happens in all of us every day. This is not something of the past. It's something that is presently going on right now. Okay? They use particular numbers, 12. Jesus had 12 disciples. I think her suffering began when she was 12 years old, for 12 years. So she was 24 at the time. All these numbers are divisible by 12. So it must be trying to tell you something. It cannot be that specific. It is not spontaneous or random. It is too specific, I think, to have happened to someone. But 12 years, okay? That number is too significant. So it must be trying to tell you something of this particular lady. And with interacting with Jesus. So it is said that the lady heard that Jesus was coming to town, and she made it her business to go there so that she can be healed of this 12 years of issue of blood. Now, in her own mind, she said, I don't need to see him. I don't need to speak with him. I don't need for him to pray for me. But if I could just touch the hem of his garment, it would make me whole. But she had to, so she had the faith that if she touches the hem of his garment, it would make her whole. But she had to advance. She had to move to the crowd and reach through the crowd in order to touch on Jesus's garment. Now, garment here esoterically does not mean clothing. It doesn't mean this thing we have on over our bodies. Okay? That's just our worldly view of garment. Notice the word garment has the word meant in it, which means mind. So a garment is what you are wearing psychologically, mentally, not physically, not on your body. This is not a garment. A garment is what you wear in your mind, is what you dress your mind with. It's also known as a mood. Okay? What mood are you having or feeling right now? And whatever the mood that you're having, that is the faith in which, you're acting. You're acting in that mood. So if your mood is positive, you know, you are faithful about something that it is happening, will happen, going to happen, and so forth. If your mood is fear, doubt, all these other negative moods, you're you're acting faithfully in the opposite direction. You're going backwards. You're going left, as they would say, or going down. Nothing is advanced. You're not advancing. You are retreating, going backwards. And but that too is you're having faith that I don't think this is going to happen, and you are certain that it's not going to happen because you have the mood, you have the feeling. All right. And so this lady was wearing the mood of healing. She wanted to be healed. That was her plight, that she had 12 years issue of blood. She wanted to be healed of the condition. And she heard of this healer, Jesus, walking around. Jesus, in this particular instance, the garment he was wearing was the healing garment, the mind of healing. So that's what he was doing, walking around. I believe in the scripture, he was cursed by the scribes for healing on the Sabbath. I think that healing was done on the Sabbath for a specific reason. All right. And I believe they say he performed 7 different, we call it now, 7 different healing on the Sabbath. So 7 miracles or healing, whatever, on the Sabbath. So there goes that number 7 over and over. So he was chastised for working, because they consider that works. Because remember, scripturally, people believe that you're supposed to not work on the Sabbath. And so we want to clarify these things here. Work, in this case, people take it literal that you're not supposed to be active. You're not supposed to, some places it's very, they take this thing to heart. You cannot do anything physical. You can't wash any dishes. You can't wash a car. You cannot, obviously, you can't go to work. If your neighbor call and ask you, can you come and help me paint my house? they cannot do it because that is considered work. Okay, so it's not talking about uh, physical work. In this case, it's talking about the psychological, meaning, because we discussed it several weeks ago, that when you're desiring your something, it takes an inner working in your own mind to come to that conclusion that it is fixed, that you have it in your mind and you have crucified it to your consciousness. And thereby, once that is done, you have no more work to do, mental work, no more mental work to do because you have reached the mood of your desire. You have now caught the mood that you have it, you feel it, you sense it. Okay? And so that is when you have reached your 6th day of creation, because 6 means the vow or vav, you can pronounce it either way. And a vow is, the symbol of a vow is a nail. And what does a nail do? A nail attaches two things and make them one. Okay? And so you're making your desire one with your consciousness. All right? So you first desire it, but then you have to nail it. You have to feel that you have it. All right? And it is attached to yourself. And then several weeks, months, days, hours, sometimes it's a blink of an eye, it depends. That certain thing will manifest. All right? But it is when you are working in mind. Now, what we're going to talk about today is another aspect of that, which we're going to talk about actually acting as if you already have this thing that you have desired. Okay? So that's why we say by your works you show faith. Because remember, faith is the evidence of things not seen. Okay? So your faith is having faith in something that you have no evidence of it. Okay, it is not something that you have right now tangibly. You have no way of how it is going to work. When will it work? If it's even going to work. But you are so faithful that you already have it in mind. You already have it in your consciousness. It's already crucified to you that you don't need to see the evidence. Your own evidence is your own, the way you feel about it. That is your evidence that you have it, the way you feel about it. The physical evidence is secondary. It's not primary. It's not pressing to see, because if you have to see it, then that's not faith. Faith is not having evidence or um, basically exercising any of your five senses. Okay, none of these five senses cannot see it, you cannot hear it, you cannot taste it, smell it, or touch it. None of that stuff is evident. It's just a mental transaction, okay, within your consciousness. And so that's how you truly demonstrate faith. No, what we want to talk about today, the other part of it, is something very dynamic and interesting, which is what scripture says, faith without works is dead. What is it saying there? Let's use an example that can demonstrate that. So let's just say you have applied for a new job. Okay, you haven't worked in a week, two, maybe a month, maybe 2 months. I've been through that before, right? So you put out these applications, they're out there and stuff like that. But you're clearly you're not getting up every day to go to work because you have no work. And so you're not actively involved in the transaction of getting up, taking a shower, getting dressed, going to work, and so on and so forth, or going somewhere. for work. You're not doing that. You're just sitting there waiting for them to call you. Eventually, these people will call you, but what we're going to talk about today is a way to speed up that transaction, that mental transaction, is a way to meet it halfway, so to speak, because it's on the way. But if you act as if you already are in that moment or in that transaction, the desire will conform. What's his name? Wayne Dyer says this: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So, who has to change first? You have to change first, or you have to do something different first. And then, whatever that thing is that you are waiting on to arrive, it will become your change. Whatever you change, it will mirror that change. So, in other words, if you start acting as if you already have the job will act as if you already hired. And so therefore, there must be a transaction now to solidify, meaning to express it, to make it vivid, or what we call a reality. So you're going to actively get up every day, get in your car, and you know the job that you applied for. Maybe it's, just to name a few, maybe it's working at depending on what you want to do. Maybe you want to be a salesman or a woman. You want to go work at BMW or Lexus. Maybe you applied for an executive position at Amazon. But these things are places that you know exist. These are buildings that you drive by every day and whatnot. You can actively get in your car and just drive to the building. You're not going to go inside necessarily, but you're going to go there and park your car. You're going to find your personal parking spot. You're going to learn the facility. You're gonna learn the ins and outs of it. The entrances, the exits, all the different stuff. You're going to go there and also visualize yourself walking into the building, walking out. I remember when I was in college some time ago, there was an exercise that kind of related to this that we had to do. At the time, I thought it was crazy, but we had to, everyone was given an assignment. What do we do driving to the school? Every action, you get in your car from the house, you close the door. You get in the car, you open the door. You have to outline everything. You open the door. If you're using a key, you have to demonstrate that too. Open the door with the key or with the key fob. You sit down, you close the door. You put the key you put your foot on the brake. You put your key in the ignition. You have to demonstrate every action that is required, and you have to consciously think about it because we operate mostly subconsciously in our life. And so we just go in there, do everything without thinking. But the teacher wanted us to demonstrate, to write down from the beginning to the end, and also when we leave school, going back home on all the different type of stuff. So we can count how many transactions, how many action, how many times we had to think. We had to do it consciously. It couldn't be something subconscious. So we had to identify everything that we were doing. And so this exercise reminds me of what we're talking about here today, wherein what you're doing is you're impressing your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is always following your conscious mind or mirroring your conscious mind. So if you apply for a job and you're not actively, it's like you're not showing any interest, it would be similar to, a man who was the express example of the conscious mind and a woman who was the express example of the subconscious mind. A man shows interest in a woman, by asking her name and this and that and the third, and then nothing else after that. I mean, the man intends to go further, but is not there yet in his in what I call it now, not there in his belief that something can happen. Right now, it's just an attraction, but he's not really positive that something further can happen. Not confident anything can happen, and so he's only going to act as confident as he is, or lack thereof. Okay, but he wants more. The woman also probably wants more, but in some cases, very nonchalant about it. It is what it is. In other words, it is incumbent upon the man to draw that um, mood out of the woman, to wanting to know more or see where this is going. And so it's always incumbent upon the conscious mind. You heard Reverend Ike said it there. The conscious mind has to impress the subconscious. So the man now in this case will be more active, showing interest. Maybe every day you see this young lady, you would say hi to her, or um, call her by her name, because you found out what her name is, and this and that and the third. So you're just small, subtle engagements. But if persisted in, it becomes, now you start to relate. Now she says something back to you. Or call her a nickname. Make sure it's a good nickname too, something that would make her laugh, or impress her, and stuff like that. So you're creating a mood. The garment, you're wearing a particular garment now. Mental clothing. Remember, that's what garment means. Garment is not this. All right? That's not what a garment is. A garment is not external, it's internal. It's mind science. All right? And so you're wearing that mood now, that you want to impress this young lady. She looks attractive. She's someone you can date, someone you can marry to. Whatever mood you're wearing, that's what you're going to give off. And the more you're actively doing it, you're not just sitting there and hoping that she comes and says something to you, because women don't work like that. Okay? They do not. You have to be the one, the man here, the conscious mind, to show interest, to impress. For the most part, the woman is always ready, but will not show that she's ready until you show that you're ready. That's how it works. So how is that? Because we're made in the image and likeness of consciousness. The conscious mind is always the mind that has to act. The subconscious never acts until you act. Okay? In other words, whatever you continue to do or feel consciously, the subconscious mind repeats, or gives it back. Reverend Ike says, what you give to God, God gives it back to you. What you serve to God, God serves back to you. God, in this case, are good. The good mind is the subconscious. And the giver is, and the first to give, as they say, it's better to give than to receive. It's really, you won't receive until you give. So first give, and then whatever you give, that's what you're going to get back. So what am I saying here? What is that really saying? If you want the girl, you have to show that you want the girl, and then she will want you back. That's exactly how women act, or operate. Not even act. That's the operation. That's just uh, the mental way, or the mindset of a woman. Cannot be any otherwise. Cannot be otherwise. That's just how it is. And it's the man. That's just how we are. Okay. So it's the same thing you're doing with a job. This job right here is our idea, our desire it is the same thing as a woman. It's the subconscious mind. Anything you're desiring is is subconscious. You know, you have to, I don't say, become your desire. You have to become it. Once you become it, then that desire now becomes you or comes to you. So as I said earlier, if it's a job, you're going to act as if you already have the job. The subconscious mind does not know that you do not have the job. It is oblivious to that. Okay? The conscious mind is what it follows. It's like a shadow. You understand? It's like a shadow that wherever you go, it goes. So wherever you go consciously in mind, your subconscious mind follows you there. So that's why it's important to not desire something and then also think about the ways, imagine the ways in where it's not going to happen. Your subconscious mind is going to be confused. It's going to follow you everywhere you go in mind and give back exactly what you're giving off. Whatever vibration, mood, feeling, or even in this case, action you're giving off. If you do it once in a blue moon, that's the same result you're going to get. Once in a blue moon result. It have to be something that is as um as active as you can be. You know, it has to be as solid as you feel, meaning feeling as if this happened. We're talking about faith. Okay, that is Surtees' definition. Feeling as if this happened, past tense, past tense. So you are acting as if you already have the job. You're not waiting for them to call you. There were instances, I don't know if people still do it, where they apply for the job and they call the manager or the owner or the job itself. They call to find out, hey, have you guys gotten to my application yet? That is you works. By your works, you show faith. But we really want to hammer it home as to what we're really, pointing out how significantly important this is to act that part, because it is then that you draw these things into your into your life, and it becomes your expression. It becomes your circumstance or event or whatever the case may be. So I'm telling you things that I've done, doing, or personal testimony that that I've put to work. So I know these things work. So that's why we are saying, by your works, you show faith. So if you're so faithful in something, then if you show that it already happened, then the thing is going to manifest even quicker or faster, because you're actively involved, and the action impresses your subconscious, or gets a reaction. Your action gets a reaction. Okay? So you first act, the subconscious then reacts or replays what you first acted out, either in your mind or acted out in the physical. Because if you're going somewhere physically, you're also going there mentally. You know why you're doing it, where you're going. So it is actively playing in your mind. I'm going to go to this Toyota dealership. I'm going to go there, show my face. I'm going to introduce myself to the management and these people, so on and so forth. I'm going to show them that I'm a people person. I'm interested in working for them. If you're so into this job or want it so badly, doing things like that will initiate the union to happen even faster. So with the woman with the issue of blood, what did she demonstrate there? As I said, Jesus wearing the garment was of healing. She wanted to be healed. So she had to approach the thing that she desired. She desired healing. She had to approach healing. But she first had to wear in mind the garment of healing, the idea of healing, the desire of healing. So when she touched the hem, and Jesus said, somebody touched me. Who touched me? And the disciple says, people touch you every day. You're around all these different people. How you know someone has touched you? And he said, because virtue has gone out of me. What is he saying there? That the mood that he is wearing has gone out of him into someone, which would mean that particular individual is wearing the same mood. And that's why everybody who's touching him, he's not feeling anything because they're not wearing the mood. Everybody's there to be healed, but they don't believe, they don't have the faith strong enough that in so touching Jesus that they're going to feel that they're going to get the healing. They're not wearing the mood. It's not matching. You know, the two frequencies have to match, you know, for it to work. So you have to have the frequency of the frequency that you're desiring, that you want. Okay? And so that's all that really meant. When virtue went out, is because the virtue is the mood that he wears in this particular garment. And the lady had the same mood, the same frequency, vibration. And so when she touched the hem of the garment, that virtue had to come out. That had to come out to create the union, and the desire was fulfilled, you know. And so that's why him say, woman, lady, daughter, I believe him say, your faith has made you whole. Notice he said that I, Christ, did not made you whole. He said, your faith. He didn't even say the Father or I, Jesus. He said, your faith. It means that everything is incumbent upon you to exercise your faith. And one way to exercise faith is by showing or acting as if you already have the thing desired. And so she first had the faith, but she acted upon her faith. She went forward. If she did not touch the hem of the garment, she would not be healed. So she actively made sure that she went forward in order to do that. You know, for people to take this thing literally, that a woman with the issue of blood touched somebody's garment and she was healed is foolishness. Okay, it's demonstrating primarily the conscious mind and the subconscious mind relating. The conscious mind is the mind of desire and has a lot of unbelief or doubts and all these different things that goes on in the conscious mind. Okay, and it has to rely upon the subconscious for healing or for clarifications, for whatever it is desiring. The subconscious is its helper. You know, it requires or depends on the subconscious mind. Most people are not aware of the things we're talking about here, conscious and subconscious, but they don't even have to be aware of it for it to work. Okay, so if you have people who wear chains and rings, and they carry around, some particular, what I call it now, statue or something like that. And they think if they carry that around, it gives them good luck, it keeps them out of trouble, all this different type of stuff. And so that is another way of people being fearful. They're fearful that if they have that thing, all is well. And when they lose that thing, how can I find it? They lose their faith. So that's why it's not good to have something external to say, if I have that, um, all is well. You have to know within yourself, all is well, regardless of any external statue or cross or whatever ring that you wearing, or whatever. That's all well and good, but it is not to be taken that seriously or literally. You must know that your consciousness is what you have with you wherever you go, and that is your savior. But some people need something external to exercise their belief, to hold on to the possibility that something can happen and will happen. All right? But we need to learn that it just requires our continual activity in mind, a steadfast or sustained faith in something. Sustain the faith, persevere through all the different things that will happen, going to happen. But when the dust settles, when everything clears up, you're still standing, or you're still holding on to your desire. You have not wavered one bit. You are still, steadfast. And with all the stuff that happened or will continue to happen, it will not deter or change your mind, because you are fixated on your desire happening. Okay, so that was one example of showing active faith, or by your works you are demonstrating faith. Okay, so you guys can think to yourself, what is it that I have the desire for right now, or had some while ago, that I can now put into action, meaning act as if that particular thing is already mine. I'm already there. Because when you get the job, you don't call them again to ask them, are you hired for real? And how long are they going to hire you for? You already know. They called you and told you, report to work tomorrow or Monday if it's a weekend. And so you act in confidence that, hey, I got this job already. And so you don't have to act as if you have it. So the trick now is to trick the mind the very same way. You can act in your own mind imaginatively. This is another way to do it, that you were called on the telephone, or you were sent an email or a text message. You can actively do that in your own mind. And when you get the mood that it is so, you are now wearing that frequency. You are now wearing that garment. Okay? Once you start wearing that garment, the job now, or whatever that place is that you have applied for, is the garment that you need to touch in order for you to be healed in this sense, or in order for you to be hired in this sense. All right. Same thing with the woman with the issue of blood. So you first catch the mood, which is the faith that it is so, but then you're going to go to the place to demonstrate So what, because like I said, what I'm saying to you guys are the things that I did and do um, when I'm desiring something or to manifest something. Okay. And I remember with, when was it? Before I was even on this level about, spirituality or awakening or whatever, back in, what year was this? 2001. And well, it was a very significant year because of all the things that happened during that time in 2001. But I remembered that I desired to buy a house. Why did I desire to buy the house? 3 years prior to that, which was 1999. Was it 99? Yeah, 99. 2 years prior to that, 1999. I bought the Chinese food. I ate Chinese cookie, and the paper they give you, I read it. It said, in 3 years, you're going to buy a house. I believed it. I didn't question it. I just believed it. And so I did not pursue buying a house right there and then. I was renting. But interestingly, 2 years in, 2001, I started to desire buying a house because at that time, houses were going up everywhere. We had a place named First Home, everybody buying first homes, and it was just electric feeling where everyone was buying a house. And in those days, the houses were very, very affordable. Um, but I was not making enough money, even though the houses were affordable. I was not making enough money. But I disregarded that and continued the desire. Okay. So I remember that I started going to these places because I have to drive past a lot of buildings going up, and I would stop, get out the car, look inside the house. If it's a brand new construction, meaning that it doesn't have any doors on it yet, it's just a building and whatnot. I would go inside there and look at the rooms and you know look in the kitchen area. So I'm just there, just absorbing everything in my mind. Okay, because I was taught this back in 96, 97. They call it dream building. Okay, they didn't really tell you what you were really doing, but then just call it dream building, which is to just actively go out and if you want to buy a car, you sit in the car, you touch the car. So I would do these things um, from time to time, but this particular time, I really had the faith that I could get this house. But remember, I was not making enough money, not even close to buy the house. But you cannot act on what your current situation is, because if you act that way, you will not do anything. In other words, if I want to buy a phone for $1,000 and I only got $100, I'm not going to go buy the phone. It cannot buy it. I'm not even going to go look at it. However, to exercise your faith, that is the best time to do it when you don't have it. You're going to go look at the phone, go to the place, act as if you're there to buy it, even though you don't have the money, and something will happen where you'll have the money. So guess what happened? That's what happened to me. The job wasn't paying me enough. I so happened to get into a disagreement with my then boss. We went our separate ways, and within 1 week, because I remember that week I went out and applied for 5 different jobs. Doing that, I think I worked 4 days. So I was suspended for a day. That same day, I went actively talking about buy my works. I went out and actively fill out 5 different applications. And by the end of that week, I quit the job. I wasn't fired. I just decided that I ain't going back. So I was demonstrating my faith, that all is well. So I didn't wait till I got the job, a new job. Um, I just quit the job. And I remember the very next week, I got 2 interviews, and I didn't hear back from those people until that weekend. So 1 week had passed, and I was out of job. And one of the jobs that I interviewed called me and tell me I can start that Monday. So I was only out of work for a week. Um, when I got there, when I saw the ad in the paper about that job, it was twice as much money as I was being paid, and so I applied for it. And so did so done. I got that job, so now I'm making twice as much money. And right there and then, that very same day, I believe it was, I got hired April 1st, 2001, and I went to First Homes, and I told them I was interested in buying a house. They asked me my job history, where am I working now, blase, blase. We did all this exchange. They said, well, um, you just start working on this job, and you have to be on a job for 6 months before we can even do an application. So, and right now your credit is an absolute mess because they ran my credit, all that stuff. I mean, I had no business buying a house, bad credit, and the job was brand new. I was making the money to afford it now, but things have to line up. So 4 months down the road, I got all that stuff fixed. And then I went back. And on the day I was supposed to go back, we had the New York, the Twin Towers were taken down that day. And so all these things could have changed my mood and say, you know what? Why the world look like it's ending? I'm not going to buy this house again. Look what just happened. It didn't change my mood one bit. I wasn't affected by it. I was steadfast that I was going to buy the house. So I still went to the place that day on September 11th, 2001. And the guy said, well, it's only 4 months you had the job, but we're going to do the application because 2 months, within the next 2 months, you'll be in it for 6 months. And that will qualify you anyways. So we're going to start the process right now. But there are certain things you have to meet. So I was given more work to do. By my works, I show my faith. They said, you're going to have to save a certain amount of money. Um, I was at an apartment at the time. They say you need to leave the apartment and go stay with a family member so you can save that money. Do not redo the lease because you're going to be building a house from the scratch and whatnot. But we need to see this much money in the bank. So in 2 months, we're going to call you back, have your bank statements ready, and this and that third. So everything they told me to do, I did. And sure enough, from September 11th till May, interestingly, May 31st, which was yesterday, that would make what, 24 years ago. I signed the we closed on the house. 2002, sorry, 1 year, 1 year, almost a year later, September 1st, 2001, 11th, 2001 to May 31st. The house was complete. Closed on the house, and it was almost exactly 3 years. I think when I ate that cookie from 99 to 2001, 2002, sorry, 3 years. I was in the house. As the cookie said, in 3 years, you will buy a house. And I believed it, you know. But 2 years in, I started acting. Didn't even realize that I didn't even remember about the cookie, to be honest with you. But something urged me to start acting, start moving, doing the work. So if I just sat down and said, so as most people say, I'm waiting on God, all this foolishness. When it is your consciousness, primarily your subconscious mind, because everything is in your subconscious, anything you desire comes from there. Everything goes to the subconscious and everything comes from it. Okay? So you so I did the work. I was actively doing what I needed to do in order to have this house. And I visualized, I saw myself in the house. When I saw the one that they said I qualified for, I made sure before I even signed the paper and whatever, I went to the building, went inside, looked at the kitchen. They gave me two different models. And I said, I don't want that model. I want this one. But that one was more, how much more was it? Maybe like another 10,000 more and stuff like that. But I didn't qualify for that one. But guess what? That's the one I got, the one I didn't qualify for because I was very, very attracted to that one mentally, physically. Like I had to have it. And so I never looked at the one they said I was qualified for. I went to the one I was not qualified for because it required more money, closing costs, all this different type of stuff. It would my payments would be more, and they say I wasn't making enough money to qualify for. But nonetheless, because I persevered, because I persisted, and that's the one I wanted. As you know it, something worked out to where they got some company to pay the deposits, and they were able to draw out the what do you call it now? They were able to write up the mortgage a certain way in which I was able to afford the house, you know, or meet certain requirements. So I didn't settle for the one that they said I would qualify for. Um, I didn't like that model per se, especially the kitchen. I liked the other one, but I did not listen to them telling me I cannot get that one. I listened to my mind, okay? I listened to my consciousness that says, yes, I can have that one. That's what you want, but you have to persist in it. You have to do the work. So I would go there and just go in the house. I would always drive by, touch the door handle, go inside, and I familiarize myself with the house. And that's exactly the one that I got because I was, by my works, I was showing my faith. If I had just listened to these people, I say, all right, I'll just take whatever. Beggars can't be choosers, which is not always true. I would not have gotten the house that I got, you know. And if I wanted another house, which they tell me I was, you know, because I saw some really nice ones, they tell me, no, this one's going to require even twice as much income, you know, for you to get that one. But and so I said, wow, I just started the job. Um, I'm not going to make twice as much money right now. But to be honest with you guys, if I had focused on that house, something would have happened to where I was making the money. Maybe at the time, because I was the only one working at the time, and my wife was not working, so maybe she would have gotten a job. That could have helped. You understand what I'm saying? So certain things can happen if you persist in your desire. Because when you look at your condition, you're only giving off the feeling that your condition says. And so your subconscious mind must give back what you're feeling because whatever garment you're wearing, whatever mood you're wearing, that's what's going to reflect. Isn't that true when you put on your clothes and stand in front of the mirror can only give back what you're wearing, can never give back the opposite. It has to give back what you're wearing. So it's the same thing with your consciousness. Whatever you're consciously wearing or have faith in and persist in, your subconscious mind being the mirror, the mirror of consciousness, it must give back that same reflection. You know, you don't know how it is going to happen. Only the subconscious mind knows how it's going to happen. It's going to communicate with the superconscious, which is in you. Everything is an inside job. It's going to communicate with the superconscious because the superconscious is the warehouse. The subconscious is the middleman, the go-between. Okay, between you and the warehouse, between you and the desire. Okay, that is your helper, your helpmate, the Eve that is within you. Okay, so you just have to be persistent in your faith walk, as they call it, because see, in that case, me buying the house, all these things that was transpiring, you know, my wife wasn't working. It's just one income. It's just me. My daughter, who's now 24 years old, um, she was in the hospital as a preemie. She was born, was it 26 weeks, 5 months. She weighed 1 pound, 5.9 ounces, 1.6, 1.6 ounces, basically. 1 pound, 6 ounces. Okay. So I had that to deal with. I quit my job while she was in the hospital. I'm the only income. So now that I quit, no money is running. I have a car to pay for. I have a rent, all this stuff. But still persisted, in having my desire with all that was going on. Then to make matters even worse, here comes this twin tower foolishness, that very same year. My credit was I can't even get into it. My credit was an absolute mess. You know, I had some fraud issues that I had to get over that. You know, and as I was buying the house, all that stuff came up, so I had to deal with that. I had to fix that. I could have easily said, "Boy, I'm not bother. This ain't gonna work," and give up. But I was too faithful that I'm gonna get this house, and so I persisted in whatever I had to do. By my works, I demonstrate what I already have in mind. What I already have in mind is my faith. My faith is my fortune, you know? And so I got the house, my credit skyrocketed, got better, was able to buy um, other type of stuff, cars, you name it. Um, Everything was going fine. Okay. Down the road, all of that, crash. I ended up losing the house. I had to file bankruptcy. All these things went through years later down the road. You think I stopped believing in my consciousness, or stopped believing that I can get back on my feet? No, far from it. Never even came to mind that getting back on my feet is not possible. I just did it again because, like any millionaire, once you become a millionaire, you are always a millionaire. You are never broke because what you're conscious of is really who you are, not what you have physically. Who you really are is what you have mentally. So if you know how to make $1 million, it doesn't matter if you made the million and lose it. You're going to get it right back because it never left you. The consciousness about making $1 million never left you. So you can lose your house, lose your possessions, lose all these different type of things. It won't even matter because once you start back again, so long as you don't lose the motivation, our better word is discipline. So long as you don't lose the discipline, you'll have what you lost plus more. You have what you lost plus more. And so I did it over again. Everything I lost, I gain it right back plus more. When it was time to start my business, the barber shop, I did the very same thing. Just caught the mood. I and then I went out every day, just about looking on buildings, talking to people, and I would visit this one place every day, just about every day. People thought I was crazy. I then found out that this place was already rented. You think that deterred me? I still kept going because what is for you cannot not be for you. Didn't get that place that I went to every day. Nonetheless, I didn't get that place, but I'm not far from it. I'm just around the corner from it, interestingly, walking distance. Okay. But I went to that place every day, parked my car there every day, took pictures, touched the window. So I was actively, because, in order for you to persist, or have patience, you have to, it must be you're very faithful. When a man desires a woman so badly, I wish, no matter how many times she tells him no, if he persists, it's because he somehow believes that he's gonna have this woman, even though she said no. You must have some type of faith, some kind of knowing, because that's what faith really is. You just know that it's a matter of time when you'll have a breakthrough. So you keep persisting. If you don't have that knowingness, you're not going to persist. You're going to give up at the very sight of rejection or um, impediment. Anything that comes, I mean, the slightest thing will throw you off, and you will not pursue. You will not continue. So, um, this went on for several months, just going back and forth, looking at this place. And I went back one day, and it was true. Somebody did rent it, the place. It was a mattress company or something like that. But guess what I did, guys? I still went to that building every day because I know what I was doing. I know, as Florence Coverson says, if the thing you desire, you don't get it, you will get the equivalent. If a man desires a particular nice car, because men, we love cars and stuff like that, uh, or nice shoes or clothing and whatnot, maybe even a young lady, a wife. If we don't get that, you're going to get the equivalent if you persist. And Florence Scovish was correct. Even at the time, I never even heard of Florence Scovish. I only knew of Neville and Wayne Dyer, which is how I found out about Neville, right? So I got the equivalent. I never got that building, but the place I got was 10 times better. 10 times better. Everything was already there because the building I was looking at, it was actually empty, meaning that there was not even, I was going to have to build it out. It didn't have a bathroom, didn't have an office, didn't have nothing. It's just a building, open building. There was another one like it that had a bathroom, but everything was just open space. So this place, I was going to have to build it out based on what I had desired in my mind. Because see, I had already built this barbershop here. I drew it actually on a paper, my drawing book, and I had completely forgotten that I drew this thing because that was 2010. I drew it. This was 2014. 4 years later, I went pursuing the barbershop, and so. But I every day I had it in my mind how I wanted the shop to look. I wanted an office. I wanted a barrier for the waiting area. I wanted an eating area. I wanted a room for massage and all the different type of things I designed here. Okay, I had it in my mind. I imagined it. I saw it. So the building I was looking at was not what it didn't look the way I had it in my mind, but I knew that when I got the building, that's what I was going to do. I was going to do whatever design I had I wasn't worried. I was going to do that inside the shop. I was going to fix it up as that design. Unbeknownst to me, there was already a building with the exact layout that I had in mind. And I drove past that building every day because I had to drive to the gym. It's the gym was behind that bit is behind that building that I'm in now. There was a gym back there that I used to go to. But whenever I leave the gym, I have to drive past the building I'm in now. But I never, because when I'm driving by it, it's to my right. But I had no reason to go over there because in that building, that whole plaza was occupied and there was a salon already there. I knew the salon was there. I used to go to that building when I had when I was working as a technician. I used to go there. There's a Chinese restaurant that's still there. I used to service their machine, so I know the plaza very well. I knew it was all filled up, but I did not know that that lady had closed the business. So one day I just happened to be led there by my subconscious. I wasn't consciously going there. My subconscious took me there because it was time. It was ready. I was still wearing the same garment, the same mood. It never changed. I never lost any faith that why is it taking so long for me to find this building or this place? Know that somebody rented the building. What am I going to do now? I never lose no faith about that because I knew what I was doing. I knew at some point I was going to be led to the building, and so said, so done. One day I was going to the gym, and I ended up at that place. Had no um, intentions of going there that day, but I was driving by it. This time it was on my left because I took that route that day, and um, I just had a feeling that says, "Let me turn over here. I never checked this place yet." Even though I know that the place is occupied, at least I thought so. I said, "Let me go over here and see what's going on." And it was the third building, the third space, the third suite. I saw. I pulled up into it because I was just driving by slowly, looking to see if there's anything empty. And lo and behold, it was empty. There was a sign that says for rent. Call the people, and the rest is history. When I got out my car and went and touched that building, when I put my hand on the glass, I felt electricity went to my body. When I touched the glass, I felt a feeling just got over me, went over me, went through my body. I felt it right here in my chest. It went through my hands all the way down. And I said, this is it. This is a building. I haven't even called the people yet. I said, this is it. I didn't go inside, but just from the look of it, it had everything I desired. It was already, I had to make some changes on the inside, painting and flooring and all that stuff. But as far as the layout, it was perfect. And made the call, and it's been 10 plus years now since I've been there. So, and every changes that I've made inside our shop, I have used the same process to attract all those things. Whatever is in there, whether it be um, the flooring, the floor that's there now. I went looking for floors for some weeks, maybe months. I wanted to change the floor. Ended up getting the floor changed. Didn't even have to pay for it. You know, didn't have to pay for it. Brand new floor, no cost to me. The so happened that we got hit by the storm, and the floor got damaged that I had in there. That's why I'm saying you have to be careful what you wish for because you don't know how it's going to happen. Sometimes you may have to lose something, and the loss does not mean you lose. It just means um, you have to get that out the way in order to advance. You have to lose that weight, whatever is holding you back. You have to lose that. And so the storm came and the water got in, flooded the floor. The landlord replaced it with his insurance. I didn't even have to file my insurance because it's his building. And so brand new floor, the exact floor that I wanted, because I went and looked on the floor over and over and over, because I have to drive by that place to go home. And so I would stop there from time to time, look at the floor, over and over. People probably thought I was crazy. And then when it was time to replace it, I just told the landlord, I just went there, took a picture and gave it to him and say, this is the floor, it's this much, this is the name. And they went there and got it. Zero cost to me. Okay. Um, I have a wall that I decorated with wood, real wood. And I went looking for it. I was gonna just paint the wall, but my wife said, no, but I use some paint, man. See if we can give it a texture, some kind of look. I said, all right. I took her advice and I went out looking every day at these different um, flooring places and whatnot. And I remember dressing up the area with different type of wood, different color. And I had it on there for maybe 2 weeks. My clients would come in and ask me, what's that, Chris? I said, just trying to see how it would look on the wall. But I know what I was doing. And so I had the wall decorated with multiple different colors of this wood, or even vinyl. So it's wood, vinyl. I had different things up there. I stuck them on there with like a staple or whatever, and a nail gun, I should say. Anyways, one day I was driving to work, and I got a call, didn't even know the number. And the lady said, hey, I remember you told me about what you want to do with the wall. We have some wood that we're throwing away. And you came to my mind. Um, you can pick it up anytime today. They called me out of the blue. I don't know these people from Adams. I don't know them. I just went there regularly inquiring. I said, when you get a certain price, call me. I'm looking for a particular type of wood or vinyl. When you get the price, call me. And I would go there and check back and forth, back and forth. Nothing panned out. But this day, driving to work, the lady called me. She said, we were throwing away the wood and you came to mind. Now, if I had not gone there, they would just throw out the wood because they don't know me. We never had a conversation. But because I went there, because I did the work, I was fearful that I was going to get something, find something. But I had a particular price in mind, no rush, and a particular color. And this day, they called me. She said, it's not the color that you wanted. It's a different color, but I said, listen, beggars can't be choosers. I'll be there. Just give me a couple hours. I'm just getting to work. And I went there and I fit every box in my car. I don't know how it fit, 14 boxes of wood. I found a way to fit it though, in the trunk and inside the car. And I drove and left them at the shop. And then one day I just, it took me a week. Just did it on both sides in the waiting area, where the TVs are at. And I put it together. And man, that thing came out so beautifully. No cost to me whatsoever, you know. And this was before I got the floor because I still had the old floor that was in there. So the color didn't even match. But I wasn't worried about it because I knew I was going to change the floor anyways. I got the price for the floor, everything. And so it so happened that the night before I was doing my office, I was doing the same wood over my office area on the walls. And I was halfway finished because the storm was coming the next night. And it was the Thursday. the storm came the Thursday. So this was Wednesday night. And when I went there Thursday, when I went there Friday, because the storm went on all day. Never seen a storm blew all day in my life. So I didn't get to go to the shop until the Friday. And that's when I discovered the disaster and everything. And it so happened that the same floor I was looking at matched the wood on the wall. It has the same tones in it. The floor is lighter, but it's multicolored. It has different tones: black, brown, light brown, all the different tones of colors in it. But it's a light floor because I wanted something that was light to be. Wait, I call it now. It would be universal. Anything would look good with it. It would be a mismatch. Any color would look good on the floor because it's a lighter color, and it would reflect better lighting. And would you know it? It matched the wood on the wall, so everything just flows. And I was able to get the floor done, got the wall done, and all that. Zero cost. Wall didn't cost me nothing. Floor didn't cost me anything. But all it cost me was just me imagining and visualizing and going to these places, taking the time to go to these places, you know, active faith. That's what that really means, active faith. I was so faithful that this thing will happen that I was acting as if it already did, you know. I was going out there doing the work. So that's what it means when they say faith without works is dead. Because if you're so faithful in something, you're going to act the part. You're going to do the work. You're going to um, show up at the place, at the event, whatever it is you're doing. You're doing it both in mind and in the physical if you can. If it's something that you cannot go to physically, you can at least look at pictures. You can, if you desire to go to, I don't know, Las Vegas or some trip somewhere, you can just start looking at pictures of these places. You know, um, I always wanted to go to Las Vegas, and I remember one year we bought some kind of promotion, and but 2020 came and kind of messed that up, so we never get a chance to go. But was it 3 years ago? 2 years later, my wife and I were in Las Vegas. You know, but 2 years prior to that, I think it was 2019. We bought some promotion, whatever, to make that trip. You know, and so it came 2 years later after COVID and everything settled down. But I was fixated on going to Las Vegas. It was in my mind. I kept visualizing. Then I find myself start talking. Everybody I'm talking to are either going to Las Vegas, been to Las Vegas. Everybody going to Vegas all of a sudden, multiple times, multiple trips. So these are signs. Now, sometimes you get signs or get what I call examples or some kind of um, something related to your desire. And it was right there and then I knew something was working, something was happening, you know, that we were gonna end up going to to Las Vegas. And the time came and we did, so you're always have some kind of desire, something going on. But I'm telling you guys, by your works, you show your faith, you know. And again, if you can't go to physically, you can look at pictures, you can go online, you can just because you're impressing your subconscious really thinks, just like the mirror, that you're there, that you're already wearing the mood, the garment. And so it cannot differentiate fact from fiction because everything in mind is really what reality is, or what is real to the subconscious. Whatever you have in mind, that's the real world. The real world is mental. This is just reflecting what is first mental. So your subconscious buys into everything that you're doing. But the problem is we don't often persist or persevere, meaning that when things happen to slow you down, to throw you off track, to distract, to change your mood, when these things happen, we often oblige. We change our mind. We change our feeling about the thing. We're easily convinced at times that this thing is not going to work out, and so we change direction. And the secret is, guys, the more these things pop up is because you are very close. And nobody told us that. In our own mind, we think that when all these type of things starts to happen, we are far, far away from our desire. And it is the complete opposite. It is a lie. Those are the signs. The more you start to face rejection, you're facing, obstructions, all these different things start coming in the way. They start telling you the loan is not going to work. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough credit. You don't. When all these things start to pop up, as they did for me when I decided to buy the house back in 2001, all these things were facts. They're true. And that's why people buy into them and act accordingly. But like Never say, the only real fact is what's in your imagination. Everything else is just commentary. Everything else is really a reflection of whatever clothing you are wearing. So all you have to do to change whatever you're seeing or hearing and whatnot is to change your mind, change your mental garment. Like Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, when you change the garment you're wearing, the outside world must reflect. So the mental garment you're now wearing, the outside world, which is a mirror, must reflect it. It's just that it's going to take some time. So this is where it requires patience. You need to find an acronym for that word, patience. That is why it requires patience. Because when we want a thing, we want it yesterday, last week, last month. We don't have the patience to wait for it for however long it's going to take. So at whatever sign of hardship that come our way, we are quick to quit because we now think we're on the wrong track and there must be another one which is going to make it easier, only to find you actually starting over. You are right there, but because you didn't have enough faith, or you didn't have the faith of a mustard seed, which is a mustard seed can only be a mustard seed, so its faith cannot waver. It cannot be anything else but a mustard seed, so it is completely faithful in becoming a mustard tree. So we have to be just like nature, just like a seed, wearing whatever is within the seed. That's all you can become. You cannot become anything else as long as you persevere. You have to plant your desire into your subconscious because everything goes to the subconscious and then it comes right back. A tree must be first planted in the ground or a seed before it can come back. The ground is the subconscious. The seed is what's in your conscious mind, or what you have consciously desired, or what you're conscious of. But you know have to go from being conscious of something to being conscious of being the thing or experiencing the thing. When you plant a seed in the ground is now one with the seed. The seed is now experiencing the process of what a tree is. And it has a foundation, which is the planting it first, water, sunlight, and before you know it, the tree springs up into fruition. So it's the same thing you're doing with your desire. You must first plant it, which means to crucify it to yourself. That is absolute faith. Until that happens, you haven't really, you're not really faithful to your desire. It has to be planted within your subconsciousness. Has to be. Thereby, when anything happens, it does not deter you because you're too attached right now. You're one with the thing. So you have to go with the desire. Wherever it goes, you have to go with it because you're attached to it. It's like you're handcuffed to another individuals. Neither one of you can be separated. Okay? So you have to always stick together. So you have to be like that with your desire. Okay? And you have to wear the mood, the clothing, the garment of the mind. You wear that, and it starts to attract the ways. You're going to run into issues. You're going to run into obstructions, challenges. You're going to have doubts, fear. All these things are going to come up. But when they come, just like our cars pass on the street, let's make them go by. Don't go standing in the way and get hit. Let them pass by. Don't hold on to them. They're just thoughts, which are part of the process of when you're going towards something. Remember the story of the Israelites, Where were they heading to this entire time? They were heading to the promised land. The promised land is your desire. But how many things obstructed them on the way? And yet they persisted. When they were escaping the Egyptians, Pharaoh, they came upon a body of water, okay, which was their first obstruction and stuff like that. What did they do? They parted the Red Sea. They parted the obstruction. They made a way to go through their obstruction, right? They passed through that. Then they were in the wilderness, wandered around the wilderness for 40 years. Why 40 years? 40 is fulfillment. It's how many weeks it takes a woman to deliver her baby. 40 weeks. And if you add 4 and 0, it equals 4. 4 is equivalent or a reflection of the 4 process that you go through using the Hebrew name of God. You have the Yod, the Hey, the Vav, the Hey. It's 4 process. The Yod is you, the consciousness, desiring. Okay? So you're always desiring. The Vav is the desire. Whatever the desire is. Not the Vav, the Hey. The first Hey is your desire, or the sun. The third letter is the Vav, which is attaching you, the Yod, and your desire to each other. The Vav is the nail. So you have 3 things to use to make one. You have 2 pieces of wood, That's 1, 2, then the nail, that's 3. And then the nail made these 2 become 1. When they become 1, the final stage is the last hey, the 4th letter, which is the physical representation of the first hey, which is the mental, the imagination, the mind, the thing visualized now become materialized, become an object, tangible. So you can get so many different interpretations from that 40 years around the mountain. Why them talk about the mountain? Because the mountain represents your obstructions that um, you're going to face, your doubts, your fears, your worries, all the different things. Those are your mountains that you have to go around, round and round and round. Okay, um, until you reach that level of belief, of faith, and then now you can move on from that. Okay, you have gained enough faith, enough knowledge, or whatnot, to exit the wilderness. You're just in there wandering. You're pondering. You're fretting. You're worrying. That's the wilderness. That's your state of uncertainty. You're bewildered. You're not too sure. You're not too certain. In the story, they said, "Man, let's go back to Egypt. At least we were fed 3 times a day. We were better off as prisoners." That is you saying, you know what? I don't bother. I don't want this house anymore. I don't want this car anymore. I don't want this new job anymore. It's too hard. They want too much. And so you go back to the old self, or want to go back to the old self. But something in you say, you know what? Let me continue persevering. Let me continue. Let me continue. Because I remember when I on the old job or the old car, the old house or whatever, it had all these issues, and I don't want that. I think it's worth me going through this process. It's painful, but you know, it's more painful if I go back. Some people go back because it's too painful going through the process. And some people say the process is far less pain than where I was. A matter of fact, it's temporary. If I go back, that pain is going to be permanent. It's never going to change. But if I continue my journey, it is going to be a temporary, painful journey. But nonetheless, I'm going to continue. And so they got out of the wilderness, and then Moses stood up on a mountain. Mountain meaning you ascend to the highest height of your consciousness. Okay. You go higher, not lower. And he looked ahead and he saw, and the scripture says, God said to Moses, now look as far as your eye can see. And all that your eye can see, your feet would tread upon it. What is it saying there? It's not talking about your eyesight, it's talking about your imagination. Whatever you can imagine, all that your imagination can see, your feet will tread upon that, meaning that you will become one with it. You will ground it to it. You will experience it. It's telling you whatever you imagine, you already have it, but you have to persist. Moses didn't go any further. Moses never saw the promised land because Moses is not the one that is to see the promised land. Moses' job is to get you out of um, the confusion, get you out of the bondage, which is the doubt, the fear. That's Moses. That is just your personification of the mind. That part of the mind will never see the promised land because you have different processes that the mind has to initiate to go through from the Egypt, Red Sea, wilderness, all that stuff. There's another part of your mind that is going to see the promised land, that will conquer the rest of the enemies, so to speak, along the way, which is where Joshua came in. Joshua came in, and Joshua means Jehovah saves. That's what Joshua means. Joshua is your salvation. Okay? And so Joshua was the one who had to go into the land and approach Jericho. Jericho just means a fragrant odor. Jericho is the desire, fragrant odor, something that smells good. That's where you're headed. And the walls of Jericho, the walls is the final stage that you have to break down. That's where, man, it really get tough now, really get hard. It's like running a race. The closer you get to the finish line, the more tired you get. Everybody knows that. When you start out, you have all this energy, and about, I don't know, a third in, you start to feel tired. 2/3 in, man, you're just holding on. But you're closer. The closer you get to the finish line, the more tired you're going to be. And people don't realize that. It's going to get harder. But just know, the harder it gets, the closer you are to finishing. So just persevere. And the person who trained enough and wants it bad enough, that's the one that persevere and finishes the race. Most people start giving up 2/3 in, so them can't bother. This is too hard, you know. So Joshua had to break down the walls of Jericho. Jericho is the place of your desire, but the walls are just the impediments that you have to get over. And the wall is so tall, them couldn't climb the wall. They had to destroy it, they had to break it down. You understand? And so that's where they initiated Joshua to get the army, to get the guys, everybody to march around the building 7 times. And on the seventh day, march 7 more times on the seventh day, and then sound your trumpets. It's not a literal story. It's just the activity of the mind, the things that you go through in the mind to get to your desire. It's just a process. And once that them walls fell, they were able to go in there, and story said that they killed everybody that was inside, which is not a literal story. It's just that you have now destroyed, because all you're really killing and is all your doubts. It's all about you. You're the one who's both the desirer and the enemy. You know, you're battling your own mind. It's a battle of the mind. You know, the mind is double-edged. It cuts both ways. So you have to conquer the doubts. The doubts are these people who are against, in the story, Israel. Israel is really your higher self, you know, and it means to act as God, to think as God, to believe or have faith as God, and persevere, you know. And the enemy, whoever they may be, all these different names that they have in the Bible, these are just names of doubts, fear, worry, you know, you know, anguish, pain, suffering. That's all they really are. These are not real people. These are just people in your own mind, personifications that bothers your mind. But when you destroy the walls around their desire, you have your desire. All the Bible is doing was telling different stories about the same thing. You are always advancing forward. Notice they never went back to Egypt. They went all the way until they settled in the land of Canaan or something like that. Canaan is the land of milk and honey. That's what it means. The land of milk and honey. Milk and honey represents um, just, you know, goodness, joy, love, peace, happiness, all these different type of things. Milk and honey. These are just symbolism that they use to express feelings. Okay, it's how you feel. People say, "Boy, I feel like I'm in heaven," and then another time I feel like I'm going to hell. These are all feelings. These are not literal things, but the feeling will impress your subconscious, which will then express a experience in which you are now engaged in something physical or an outward appearance of the internal. And then now you have to deal with that until you find a way out of it. Okay? So that is pretty much what our lesson is and was about today, is identifying any and every desire that you have had or will have. And this is another technique, as we've been talking about techniques as of late, in which you can use to attract your desire. You can become like what I call it now. you can become like honey to attract flies. You know, um, you are putting yourself in a particular mood, and to disregard anything that is happening, will happen, or is going to happen, that will seem as if it's an obstruction, something that's in the way. Understand that when these things happen, this is very key. These are just a reflection of your own subconscious beliefs, subconscious programmings, that for whatever reason, as you get closer to the goal, they become active because you were taught, we were taught, every time you save money, something happens. And so therefore, you're saving money for this particular desire or thing. And as you reach the amount that you need, or nearly reach the amount that you need, something else pops up to distract you to where you can't save anymore. You may still hold on to the money, but no, whatever other money you have that you were going to save, no, you have to put it into that thing, because that take precedence, that take um, priority. So let me fix that first. And you should go ahead and do that. Not telling you not to, because it's something that's pressing. But do not give up on the initial desire or goal that you had. But understand that this thing popped up because of your programming that you have in mind. And so something had to occur to remind you of the things that you taught yourself as a child coming up, that you have bad luck, that you never find anything good. And every time something good comes your way, somebody take it away from you, or something is going to happen. You know, my family, a bad lucky family. All these different things we've been taught and impressed. And these things that we were taught impress our subconscious. So the subconscious mind is aligned in a way that when certain things are happening, it now recognize that the next stage is supposed to be an obstruction, something that would create doubt, fear, worry, anguish, pain, and you initiate that part of the process during that time. And if you're not aware, that is how your mind is operating or is set up or has been programmed, you will say, you know what, you will cease and desist from chasing that goal, that desire. You will not buy that house anymore because um, your credit is bad, because you just lost your job, because um, you have just too many other obligations going on. I'm going to put it off for another year, another 2 years, and another year become 10 years, because you did not persist in your faith. Faith is something that you have to persist in. You don't just have faith and then that's it. If it was that easy, we wouldn't need to persist, because once you have the faith, that's all it requires. Requires no persistence. But faith is something that requires persistence. In other words, every day you have to wake up having the same um, belief, the same desire, the same energy, feeling, mood. Nothing can change. You must put in your mind, no matter what happens, I am not going to detract from my destination or journey. I'm going to stay on course regardless of what is going to confront me. You know, that's how you persist in faith. So faith is not something that is fixed. You have to keep it fixed. Okay. It's like driving somewhere. You may have to stop to get gas, so that you can persist. So you will encounter obstructions, impediments, all these different things, you know, but don't turn back because you're low on gas. Go back and go to a gas station, fill up a tank, and then continue to your destination, because you know where you're destined to, that it is there, it exists. But until you persist, until you continue, you will never get to it. So your faith is a journey. That's what I call it, faith journey. It's a journey. And you have things to obstruct you. But again, like I just said earlier, these obstructions are personal. They are not general. Everybody will face their own obstructions. It's not like we're all going to go through the same things. But whatever we're going through is that these things were personalized by us, by our environment, by our moms, our dads, our family members, our friends, TV, the internet, all these things we have allowed to become a subconscious belief, a subconscious program, you know? And so they will and must activate during the journey. But if you are aware that is how your mind is set up, you will be able to understand what's going on and persist nonetheless. And the stronger you show your persistence, the sooner the obstruction will vanish. It will fall under the weight of its weight of its own nothingness. You understand? Because it's really nothing. It's just there to kind of test you, to see how badly you really want this desire. How badly, how do you really mean what you say? You know, or you were just speaking because it sounds good, you know, or you're a quitter, you know. Do you give up easily or whatever? So it's just the process that your mind goes through, you know. So, but like I said, we're looking at different um, ways to attract our desire. We talked about I remember when. I have found a tape um, from Neville. Never influenced, not necessarily Neville, but influenced by Neville, with different um, things to remember when. Very good video. It's very short. I'm going to post it shortly, but you can listen to that video and practice um, some of the things that it talks about. I remember when, because they are applicable to every one of us, and you can consciously repeat these things in your mind And just to prove to yourself that these things, these techniques actually works and it works for you, you know. But it's very key to do it um, often until it becomes your mood. And then, like I said, with the because you can do many different techniques. You can mingle them. I remember when you know I had no yes no car in the garage. You know, um, I remember when my car was not working. You know, it's not working right now, but you're telling yourself you remember when it was not working. And so, or I remember when I didn't have the money to fix my car. You don't have the money, but you're saying I don't remember when. But in saying that, you're implying that that time had passed. You are now, you have fixed the car, you found the money, you are now driving the car, AC is blowing, everything is fine, you know? And so, and then you can also actively implement our chapter today. By your works, you show your faith. So you can um, imagine that they came and got your car, took it to the dealership. I mean, wherever you bought the car from, dealership or the mechanic shop, whichever, and they had it fixed. And you can imagine them bringing it, dropping it off at your house. You can physically drive yourself down there, you know, acting as if you went there to talk to someone about, picking up the car today, or, all these different ways you can use your imagination and, implement the different techniques to speed up the process of achieving your goal, achieving your desire. So you know, I like this particular technique. It works for me to go out there and be active. I did the same thing with my wife's car. I told you guys that story. Sat in the car, put my hands on the steering wheel, took pictures of the car, videotaped it. She was not even involved. It was all me. So it's her car. She's the one buying it, but she doesn't have to do it. I did it for her because I'm going to be there in the car. I imagine myself sitting next to her while she drive all these different things. I showed her the video, all that stuff. She was not into the car as I was, but still got it anyways, because I was doing the work. I was acting as if. We never got it from the place that we saw it, but we got it from somewhere else for over $5,000 less, So we even got it for less money, the exact same color, exact same car. But I acted as if we already had it by drawing it nearer to me, by becoming one with it, by crucifying it to my consciousness, my mind. And so that works for me. I realize that that's one of my bread and butter in terms of techniques that works for me. So we're giving you guys all these different techniques, Neville Goddard, inspired and whatnot, or anyone else, whether it be Reverend Ike and stuff like that, Wayne Dyer, anyone, Joseph Murphy, to name a few. You can use these techniques and see which one works better for you. So that's why we're doing them, because they can become personalized, or something that makes you feel. It's all about your feeling. Whatever makes you feel natural. That's the word, natural. You have to feel natural. Once something feels natural, it is ready to happen, because it's natural means you are engaged with it. It's easy. It's doable. It flows, no resistance. A river flows downward, not upward. You'll never see that. So that's the natural flow of a river. But oftentimes we try to go against and it never feels natural. You have to go with the flow. Flow creates a natural feeling. Okay. So, so that was our lesson for today. Again, like I said, think of anything that you desire and implement some of these things that I talked about. I like to give my own personal examples or experiences to our testimony to demonstrate, to show that I'm preaching what I practice, so to speak. As Sir T said last week, preach what we practice, not just practice what we preach, but preach what we practice. So I'm giving you guys things that I do, have done, and was successful. And I can never say some God in the sky gave it to me. I never prayed, never had anyone pray for me. Interestingly, I had a guy that came to my shop when I just opened it up and prayed with me. He said, "Let me pray for you." Good friend of mine. So let me pray for you. And I'm here 10 years later. So, but I never, prior to that, never sat down and said, all right, let me pray for this shop or let me go to church, and none of that. Never once did any of that. Everything was it within myself. Everything was internal, personal, and it happened anyway. So I can't thank a God outside of myself because I never prayed to no God. I answered my own prayer, like Reverend Ike said, how to answer your own prayer. And today, we're answering our own prayer by works. By your works, you show your faith. So whatever you're faithful in, implement this technique and see if it works for you. Okay? And just be persistent. Just it requires faith. It requires persistent faith. It requires a process. Just try it. That's all we're asking. That's all we're telling you guys. Try it. Um, whether it's writing down something over and over that you desire, that's work as well. That's putting in the work. You're faithful. Write it down. I am so happy and blessed now that I have received, my bonus of $10,000 or whatever. These things. Things that I wrote down actually happened. Didn't even realize it. But it happened. Whether it be income based and stuff like that. But I remember writing these things down. But it works even faster if you write it repetitively and you go back and visit it more and more, and stuff like that. So that's one of the techniques. So next week, we're going to come back with another technique to demonstrate ways in how to manifest your desires. So until then, it is a liquid after 12. So I'm going to let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your day and your family. And we'll see you in a week, right here again, June 8th, exactly, with another episode, another lesson from the One Great I Am Awakening. Peace and love, enough blessings, and we'll see you all at the top.